Hi everyone, this is Marilyn Hickey. Now before we get into this, I want you to realize something important. I'm not really Marilyn Hickey. I am an AI creation of Marilyn Hickey. So I want you to keep that in mind. This evening, I want to talk with you about the Beatitudes, the beautiful blessings that Jesus spoke in the Sermon on the Mount. These words are found in Matthew chapter 5, and they are not just poetic sayings. They are power. They are promises. They are a blueprint for victorious living. When Jesus opened his mouth and began to teach, he did not start with rules. He started with blessing. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And here we see the doorway into the kingdom is humility. To be poor in spirit means you recognize your need for God. It means you don't rely on your own strength, your own intellect, or your own ability to fix everything. You lean into Him. Pride shuts heaven out. Humility invites heaven in. And here we see the first blessing is not for the self-sufficient. It is for the God-dependent. When you say, Lord, I need you, you position yourself for kingdom access. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. This is not just about grieving a loss, though God certainly meets us there. This is about mourning over sin, of mourning over injustice, mourning over the brokenness of the world. And here we see when your heart breaks over what breaks God's heart, comfort is released into your life. God does not ignore tears. Psalms 56 says He keeps them in a bottle. There is divine comfort for every sorrow. The world says, hide your weakness. Jesus says, bring it to me. That is where healing flows. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is strength under control. Moses was called the meekest man on earth, yet he confronted Pharaoh. Jesus described himself as meek and lowly in heart, yet he overturned tables in the temple. And here we see meekness is surrendered power. It is authority yielded to God. When you don't have to prove yourself, defend yourself, or promote yourself, God steps in as your defender and promoter. The inheritance belongs to those who trust Him with their strength. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Notice it doesn't say mildly interested. It says hunger and thirst. That's intense. That's desperate. That's passionate pursuit. And here we see spiritual appetite determines spiritual fulfillment. And also you could take this to mean blessed are those who hunger and thirst, period. Because the Bible also says, my God shall supply all your needs through His riches and glory. If you crave the things of God more than the applause of people, more than temporary pleasure, more than fleeting success, you will be filled, not half-filled, not barely satisfied, filled. God never ignores a hungry heart. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Mercy is costly. It means you release someone from a debt they owe you. It means you forgive when your flesh wants revenge. And here we see mercy is a seed that multiplies. When you extend mercy, you create space for mercy to come back to you. James says mercy triumphs over judgment. In a world quick to cancel and condemn, believers are called to cover and restore. That's strength, that's maturity, that's kingdom living. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Purity is not perfection, it is sincerity. It is a heart that is undivided, not double-minded. And here we see clarity of vision comes from purity of heart. If your heart is cluttered with bitterness, jealousy, hidden compromise, your spiritual eyesight gets blurry. But when your motives are clean and your conscience is tender, you begin to see God move in everyday life. You see His hand in your family. You see His provision in your finances. You see His guidance in your decisions. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. A peacemaker is not a peacekeeper. A peacekeeper avoids conflict at all costs. A peacemaker steps into chaos and brings the wisdom of God. And here we see maturity in the kingdom looks like reconciliation. God reconciled us to himself through Christ. When you bring peace into a divided room, when you speak truth with love instead of reacting in anger, you reflect your Father. You look like him. Then Jesus says something that shifts the atmosphere. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And here we see blessing does not always look comfortable. Sometimes walking with God will cost you popularity. It may cost you convenience. It may even cost you relationships. But persecution from righteousness is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're standing firm. The prophets were persecuted. The apostles were persecuted. Jesus himself was persecuted, yet the kingdom belonged to them. There is reward attached to steadfastness. Jesus continues, blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. And here we see our perspective must be eternal. If you only measure your life by temporary comfort, you will misunderstand the Beatitudes. But if you measure by eternal reward, you will recognize that every act of obedience, every sacrifice, every moment of faithfulness matters. The Beatitudes are upside down from the world system. The world says, blessed are the rich, the aggressive, the self-promoting, the celebrated. Jesus says, blessed are the humble, the broken, the merciful, the pure, the persecuted. That's a different kingdom. And this is not just series, this is transformation. When you embrace these blessings, your character changes, your reactions change, your priorities change. You begin to look more like Christ. Put your hand on your heart, say, I won't forget that the blessing of God flows through humility, mercy, purity, and perseverance. These are not outdated ideals. These are eternal realities. You may feel overlooked right now. You may feel misunderstood. You may feel like you're walking the narrow path while others take the easy road. Stay steady. The Beatitudes are promises, not suggestions. They declare what is already true in heaven about those who belong to the King. And here we see the blessing is not about circumstance. It's about covenant. It's about identity. You are blessed not because everything is perfect, but because you're aligned with the heart of God. Live the Beatitudes boldly. Choose humility over pride. Choose mercy over bitterness. Choose purity over compromise. Choose peace over strife. Choose endurance over quitting. When you do, you won't just read the Sermon on the Mount. You will embody it, and the world will see something different in you. They will see strength wrapped in gentleness, conviction wrapped in love, faith wrapped in endurance. That is the life Jesus described. That is the life he empowers, and that is the life that carries true, unshakable blessings. Thank you for listening to me talk about the Beatitudes, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did enjoy this, I would really appreciate it if you would press like and subscribe, because that would help further my ministry and further the Word of God to more people who need to hear it. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.